Hello Internet, and welcome to my review of Steins Gate Zero, episode 22. When we last left off, Okabe had time leaped 3,000 times back from 2036 to 2011, which he absolutely should not have done because the plot should have been handled in 2036. It would have been a nice way to tie into the D-mail from the end of the original Steins Gate, but I've ranted about that enough. So anyway, goes back to 2011. And he gathers the gang to stop Leskainen and Stratfor before they have a chance by having Moega replace Kagari, among other things. But with all that, Suzu and Mayuri still get into the time machine right as it's blown up, and they die. And that's how the last episode ended, with Okabe still failing, which I am not very happy about. But before we get to the episode proper, I'd like to remind everyone I have my Fall 2018 anime review straw poll in the description down below. Feel free to fill it out. Tell me what series you want to see me review for next season. Y'all know the drill by now. Anyway, let's get back into the episode proper. So, my first thing is that after last week, the highlight of last week was when Daru lands that glorious punch onto Okabe. And he falls over and gets back up, and he's back as Kyoma. It was really one of the bright moments of Zero as a whole, and it's really disappointing that as we start this episode and he's failed again, he's gone right back to how he was, mopey and miserable. And it's weird that, first of all, but also that 2 or 3 minutes later, he just goes through the same process again of coming back as Kyoma. Also, it's just a hell of a lot less effective the second time around. You know, last week I had this huge-ass grin on my face as he, slowly rose up. And then this week, I was like, oh, he's back as Kyoma. Alright, we're just swapping around every 5 seconds. So it just didn't really work the same way the last week's did. Which is kind of my thoughts on the episode as a whole. Just a lot of it did not really work. Though, before I get into that, all the Kyoma antics are, honestly, they're still a welcome respite from the intense gloom and failure of Zero. You know, him making random phone calls to the about the organization, back to, kind of reminds you of the good old days. But there's something that's been bothering me the entire series. So it really comes to the forefront here. And that is Drupa. What is Drupa? First off, why did the Americans have 2 competing secret organizations based around time travel research? Especially because the series kind of led me to believe they're both government agencies. And so, why does America need 2 of them? Also, have they done anything? All the masked people we've seen, Kagari and Leskainen behind it all, and Judy Reyes, are all part of Stratfor. The whole plot has revolved around Stratfor's machinations, and Drupa is just kind of a name that's dropped every now and then, and there's nothing about it. And, even later on in the episode, Daru asks how Drupa got info on the time machine, and Okabe's just oh, both them and Stratfor are American, they must have found out that way. That doesn't answer anything. So Drupa is just kind of weird. And honestly, if there was no Drupa in the series and it was just Stratfor and the Russians, nothing would have changed. There's not a single thing in this series that would have changed by excising Drupa from the plot, other than one less name to say. But you know what? Whatever. You can pretty much ignore Drupa. And so after that, Okabe starts backtracking, trying to figure out how far back they have to go in order to reach a world line where the time machine is not destroyed by Leskainen. And he realizes that Leskainen's earliest attempts the Russians' earliest attempts to mess with time travel, because they had Kurisu's time travel theory, and somehow Amadeus was involved. I'm really confused on that point. But that, somehow, them messing with Amadeus is how that Alpha Tractor Field trip back in episode 8, where he saw Kurisu again and we all cried for a while, back when this series still had potential. sorry people who are enjoying Zero. I've just been totally run dry in my patience for Zero. This episode's kind of killed my hope for it. There's not a whole lot left. I don't know. I'll get to all my problems with the end of this episode in a little bit. Um, real soon. So a couple more points to get through. So we kind of get like this whole time, the whole how Okabe ended up in an Alpha World line. It was kind of been hand waved since episode 8, but we finally get some kind of vague explanation. Oh, it had something to do with the Russians messing with Amadeus. Or Stratfor messing with Amadeus. I'm not sure which one. That's still vague. But so their final plan, so they eventually realize that the only way to stop everything is if Amadeus never exists. So that Laskainen cannot get a hold of Amadeus in order to access Makise Kurisu's time travel knowledge. And so their plan is, they can't send a D-mail, of course, because CERN would get to them. But Daru reveals he's been working on a project called D-Line, which is very clearly a reference to the Japanese text service line. So I'll just call it D-Line, because I don't want to be confusing. And that despite Line not being particularly popular by 2010, it was still in its beta, and Daru had a copy of it, or had the beta. And so the plan is to send a D-Line to, I think it's New Year's Eve 2009. I think. It's either 2009 or 2010. They say last year, and they don't specifically say which one. But if it's New Year's Eve 2010, then I think it's too late because Stratfor would have already attacked them. Right? And I've got my timeline straight, right? I think it'd be too late because Stratfor would already gotten the information off of Amadeus for 8 months, Laskainen could have gotten that information because they made that back in like April. But if it's in 2009, why are they so certain that Daru would just listen to them? Is just Daru's enough of a nerd that if someone tells him, I'm yourself from the future, that Daru would automatically believe them? And Daru knows nothing. On New Year's Eve 2009 knows nothing of any of this. Especially because the Amadeus system wouldn't have been created yet. But maybe they're telling him to destroy it in April. And if in 2010, then it's too late. So I'm not entirely sure, but apparently it worked. By the end of the episode, they send the text and Okabe sees the world line shift. Though then again, meaningless texts have shifted the world line before, both with, or D-mails have shifted the world line before without us really being apparent just from the message themselves what their effects would be, like with Ruka's D-mail back in the original series. And honestly, there's nothing in Okabe's I saw Makise Kurisu got stabbed from the very first episode that, as far as I can tell, would actually have changed anything. But that's a long. So what I'm saying is maybe it changed in a way that they cannot predict, and it did not change the way they thought it would. And because the next episode, at least according to my anime list, people have been acting like it's a 24 episode series, but MAL has been saying it's 23. So maybe next episode is just like they're in the worst timeline now, and we fast forward through 14 years to see Okabe send the video D-mail back to his past self. I don't know. I don't know how that next episode is going to wrap everything up, just because there's so much going on, and there's not really time to handle everything, But anyway, back to the stuff I feel like people really liked about the episode and the stuff I really didn't. And that is Amadeus and Okabe's long walk through the streets. So I feel like everything with Amadeus and Okabe is supposed to be kind of reminiscent of the final moments between Okabe and the original Kurisu in episode 22 of the original series. Both with the, just because it's Amadeus' dying moments, her last chance of life to spending time with Okabe, and the fact that they're both episode 22 definitely brings home the symbolism. But for one thing, much like with the Kyomen return earlier in the episode, it's just a lot less compelling the second time. And a large part of that is because Makise Kurisu is an incredible character. She is, compelling. She has her own motivations, but she still ends up siding with Okabe. She has to face up the fact that in the Alpha World line, she is this horrible person, and she fights against that. And she also just really connects with Okabe in this I've said it before, not on the channel, but like in real life. Okabe and Kurisu is the greatest anime romance of all time. They are phenomenal. The way they're written is so human, and so watching them together in their last moments is heart-wrenching. Amadeus does not have that. Amadeus has barely been around, and whenever she's there, she pops up for a few seconds to remind Okabe of Kurisu, and then doesn't really contribute all that much to the plot. She got hacked by Leskainen, but I don't know. She's just never really clicked the way that Kurisu did. And so trying to bank an entire climactic episode on the relationship between Okabe and Amadeus just doesn't work because that relationship isn't there. So that's really my negative thoughts on everything with Amadeus. But there is one bright spot in that whole scene, and that is Amadeus has this long speech about what it's like to be a program, and how she has not been able to go out into the world and see the things she would want to see. And that was actually really well done. There has been just enough little mentioning of... it doesn't even take a lot of mentioning to imagine being stuck in a phone isn't very fun. So like it didn't take a lot of build up to make Amadeus's program speech work, and it did work. The rest of it, I just don't find Okabe and Amadeus to be that compelling a relationship, other than seeing their voices interact for the first time, for the only ways we get to see them really interact in Zero. But it's just that Okabe and Amadeus don't have the relationship that he had with Kurisu. So I feel like that kind of tears apart the episode as a whole, kind of makes the episode kind of fall flat, especially in that last half. Though I will admit, that last scene with where they're sending the email back, like, even though the story just did not justify any of this at all, props to the voice actors and the insert song for almost making me feel something. I was like, oh, this is kind of sad, but like, also, Amadeus just kind of is. So yeah, I feel like as a whole, Amadeus was kind of a wasted potential. I feel like there's something they could have done with the ghost of Kurisu, besides just having her pop up to make Okabe feel sad every now and then. So yeah, I was just kind of disappointed by it all. Which is kind of my impression of Zero as a whole, unfortunately, because the original Steins Gate is like one of my favorite series of all time. It's like Rakugo Shinju, From the New World, Steins Gate, in that order. Then Fullmetal Brotherhood, of course. And so seeing Zero just fall so... I did not expect Zero would be as good as Steins Gate, because nothing is as good as Steins Gate. But, well, there are some things that are good as Steins Gate, because it's not my favorite series, but you know what I mean. But I did not expect it to fall this hard. To just... I don't know, I'm so... just disappointed by it, And, like, I don't like talking about not liking series. This channel exists literally because I was tired of negativity in the fairy tale fandom, and I wanted to bring some positivity to it. So I'm big on positivity, but this episode, I just can't get into the Amadeus relationship at all. It just has not really clicked. But yeah, I'm just kind of talking about the same things over and over again at this point. So I'll leave it off here. I hope you all enjoyed the episode more than I did, and if not, hope you enjoyed the video instead. If you did, feel free to drop me a like, subscribe, or fill out that straw poll in the description down below. And as always, people, keep kicking ass, and I'll see you in the future. Bye!